Hello and welcome to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. In this episode, we talk about metabolizing your world through art. What are the benefits and what are some ways you can do this? Hope you enjoy.
Hey, Pat,
Yes, James.
isn't one of your children having a birthday soon?
Yeah. Well, my oldest daughter will be turning a certain age on a certain date. That's all I'm prepared
Wow.
to say. It's coming up fast. About a month away. Just over a month.
Oh, nice. Nice. Are you going to do anything special?
Oh, yeah. I am making something.
A quilt?
No. It's
No?
I already basically made most of it. It's a little book I wrote, little novella I wrote for this 3-day novel contest I enter just about every year, and it didn't win, so the copyright's mine. I didn't get it published through the contest. I can do whatever I want, and I'm making, because it was inspired by her. It's just got so much of so much love in it for her, and she's a very cool person. I just really admire her. So I thought because it's a big birthday, it's like a landmark birthday, the big 2-5, and I thought I would make make it into an actual book. Because like with a cover and laid out and with an ISBN, I've already got the ISBN, the International Standard Book Number. 13-digit thing, and I just got that like 2 days ago. They're easy to register for here, and just I'm thinking about the cover now, and I'm super busy with paid work right now, and so I'm trying to do a little bit every day, But what I feel like is writing that book did me a lot of good when I did it. And now creating something cool out of it as a special gift. There's only ever going to be one of them. I'm not going to sell it, even though I got the ISBN. It's just something very, I don't know, felt good. It feels good.
And it's something that relates to AJ and connects with her, right?
Totally. And connects with an experience I was going through at the time, which these little novellas always seem to do, which was my divorce, basically. And so I threw her dad under the bus in a funny way,
good.
I think.
Good for you.
But but yeah, so it was one of those. It's one of those things that I think she'll get a kick out of. Hopefully, she won't think that I was serious about the part where I was talking about her dad, but it was great. It's a great little.
Well, that's and what it's making me think about, and is you. So here you are using your art to better understand this experience that you had, but also to like connect with your daughter, and maybe like you're understanding her in a different way through the book and that kind of thing. And it reminds me of an interview I just read a little snippet of about David Sedaris, and the person sort of asked him, like, because he writes his essays based on his journal, right? And so the person asked him basically something like, why do you write a journal? And he said, I don't write a journal to describe my emotions. That would be boring and wouldn't keep me doing it day after day after day, week after week. And he says, I write my journal to help me understand the world. And in specific, when he has a weird interaction with somebody. Or somebody compliments him in a way that seems unusual, or somebody tells him a joke that strikes him as particularly funny or weird, or all these different kinds of things. These things happen to him, and then he goes and he writes about it, and it helps him sort of piece together what happened. Right? And I think mostly it's where conflict occurs. For him. And though he does write a lot of very humorous, silly kind of stuff, but for him, he had a really tough time with his dad, and so he wrote a lot about trying to figure out, why does my dad say this, do this, and you had said this actually in the run up, so I don't want to take credit for this. I want to be very good about that, but it's about metabolizing the world through your art.
Right.
Right.
That's, I believe that that's one of the things art does for creative people is whether you make money off it or not, it's a way of making sense of your experience. And nothing can do that like art, because what art does is transforms. It
Yeah.
transforms one thing into another thing. Like a picture, a painting is a representation of something, but it's not the thing.
Right. Right. And the other nice thing about, art is, and I think this is true if whether you're a writer or any other kind of artist, probably especially true if you're an actor, is because the nature of it, you have to think from another person's perspective.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right. So you have to embody that other person. And there's this whole, term, it's called theory of mind.
Okay.
Where, and that's really about developing empathy.
Okay.
Right. Where we understand how somebody is feeling because we were able to just intuitively, naturally have this theory of mind. So when somebody says, ouch, I banged my finger with a hammer, you have a sensation of how that feels for that person. Or
Mm-hmm.
somebody comes up and has a more complicated emotion where, I lost somebody close to me or something like that.
Yeah.
And so there are times, though, where people are, as we know, really, really unpredictable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they can do things that are shocking, surprising, where you're left wondering, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so by engaging in our art, we can put ourselves into their mind to try and hopefully kind of understand what just happened. Why did it?
That's cool. Kind of, actually, just as an aside, and I'll keep it short, I'm just thinking maybe you should do a piece of art about the bread loaf jury. So what were they thinking?
Yeah. Yeah, I could do actually, that would be a very funny short story that you could do about the bread loaf jury working through my entry.
Maybe that's this weekend's fun. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking too that it's you're not just processing your experience, but you're actually forced, I think, in any creative field to look at people uh, and other creatures, I suppose,
Mm-hmm.
differently than you would if you were not in the creative work. So I'm just thinking about, we were talking about actors and maybe lining up for a coffee, and how to the person who's not thinking about their creative work, they might just be like, oh, I'm fifth in line or whatever. Let's move this along. Oh, I can't believe she doesn't have her money out yet. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if you're perhaps an actor or even a writer or a visual artist, you might be looking at how people stand, how they express discomfort or impatience or all that stuff, because you can use it. You can. It's the details that make everything.
Right.
In almost every art I can think of, the concept has to be there, but the details really make it cool, and relatable maybe. And so the artist is not just metabolizing their feelings and so on, or their experience. They're also kind of eating the world differently than perhaps people who don't have to have that level of noticing would encounter.
Yeah. I mean, I think, as humans, just being animals, you're always sizing up situations.
That's
right?
true. Yeah. Right.
But, as humans, we train ourselves in how we size people up. So I would think if you're in sales and marketing, when you see people, you're thinking from that perspective. Or, whatever, a teacher, right?
Yeah.
You might be thinking in a very different perspective, but, we'll see somebody and think, oh, you know what? They're walking with a tilt of their head that expresses a very distinct emotional quality that I can use, because our whole thing is show don't tell, right?
Yeah.
So if you can capture that tilt of the head to carry the emotion rather than stating the emotion. And so, yeah, I mean, but even, and I know I do this in my own writing, they say write what you know and all that kind of stuff. And I don't write sort of auto fiction where it's more true than not, but But I definitely, when I have a conflict with somebody or I reflect on a conflict, that's how I understand what my characters are going to go through.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think just naturally doing that, I get a little bit better understanding of the real life conflict.
Absolutely. It's like it reflects back something to you. I'm just another aside. Imagine how surgeons go around looking at people. Like, wish I had my scalpel. Look at the goiter on that lady, like maybe
What an
that's
opportunity.
Only I could lure her into the alley. Wait, that's Jack the Ripper. Never mind.
Yeah, it's a different mode. Well, now you're thinking like a mystery thriller writer.
Maybe.
So
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so okay, so where are we how does this relate to great. The pleasure of being in a creative field means that you get to use the world in a different way. You use it to understand your own experience. Whereas maybe somebody who isn't in a creative field might use meditation or, just thinking, right? We're using it differently in a way because we've got an end purpose for it. It's almost like, the reduce, reuse, recycle. And then we're also noticing, and this is an exercise I used to give students in a fiction writing workshop, which was take 15 minutes a day and notice things to the degree where you can find words in your mind to describe them. So you notice a tree and then you describe the tree mentally to yourself, but you're actually describing it for somebody else because it's a muscle you can exercise. Yeah. And then you're quicker to find the language to describe stuff because you've used that faculty.
Yeah. No, I call that sketching with words, right?
Oh, there you go.
Go to a cafe or wherever,
and
sit, and somebody, just because people are people, will strike you in a unique way.
Yeah.
And rather than trying to, draw a picture of them, which I'm terrible at that kind of art, but you try to capture what it is that strikes you about that person and the way they're carrying themselves and all those kinds of things. And I think what we're getting to is that as creatives, we have this way of innately training our minds to to metabolize the world in a particular way.
Yeah.
Right. And in a way that to serve our art. And maybe the suggestion is to really reflect on, in a more intentional way, how do we train that? How do we refine that?
Oh, I like that.
How do we dig deeper into it?
Yeah.
To further develop that skill.
Yeah. That's a really good question. So what do you do? Do you have any tips?
Well, I think, you can do things like, we were just talking about like the skill that you were saying to develop, go out and think about the tree, and for me to, doing the sketching and that kind of thing. But maybe there's simpler just moments of the day, where you can sort of think, oh, this is an opportunity for me to learn. This is an opportunity for me to strengthen that muscle a little bit, to give it a little exercise. So as a writer, like you said, standing in line and getting frustrated, how does that feel? How are you carrying yourself? Do you see yourself being tense, or better, watching the person who's really about to freak out because things aren't going their way?
Yeah.
How do you know that somebody is doing that, feeling that way?
Yeah.
Right. Trying to think about, I feel like that person is sad. Why do I feel like that person is sad?
Yeah. Body language.
Or that person is really, really happy, or, probably searching for more complicated kinds of emotions.
True. And actually, we're only ever just guessing about what's going on inside somebody. So, it's not to say impose your own thinking on what you're seeing. It's more like if you strip away your own thinking, what are you actually seeing? And even to think about yourself. I mean, you could ask somebody who you feel comfortable asking this question, is like, how can you tell when I'm happy? Can you tell when I'm happy? And then B, how can you tell? I mean, maybe we're getting too deep in the weeds with writing, but I think it might apply to acting as well. I was telling you this story about my friend who when we were, early teens, really paid attention to gesture in other
Ah,
people. And when at that specific occasion when we were talking about our boobs, and I looked down at where mine should have been, and they weren't there. Not because they disappeared, because they hadn't grown yet. And she kind of went, "Oh God, yeah, I'm gonna." She imitated it right after I did it, just because we were young, and like I don't even know if she was really a serious actor then. She did become
uh-huh.
a successful actor, so it's just very. It's like being able to not take the world too seriously, but at the same time, take what you can get from it. And
Uh-huh.
actually, I gave my one of my daughters this trick when you're in trouble in school and you have to go sit outside the principal's office. I'm not saying this ever happened to
Mhm.
me, okay, but
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, never.
because she was kind of mortified at having to the prospect of having to do that. She thought she was going to be in trouble the next day. And I said, why don't you just treat it like you're writing a story about somebody sitting outside the principal's office? See what you notice,
Oh,
see how you feel, you know. Take notes like more like you're a camera than a person, because that will ease your mind in the moment. You won't be as caught up in feeling guilt or whatever the
yeah.
emotion is.
Yeah. Well, I love that, be a camera.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I love photography of people
Yeah, me too.
because it captures an instant.
Yeah.
And so you can read so much into that instant and it could be complete, baloney.
Yeah.
But um, it helps you kind of develop this skill set
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we're talking about, which is reading the moment and the context
Yeah.
and everything, even from the quality of the light, all these
Totally.
kinds of things that bring something to life. And that's, as a visual artist, that's completely what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing a landscape,
Yeah.
you're trying to evoke some sort of emotional quality about that landscape that connects.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to mention this guy I've been watching lately. His name's Rodney DeCroo. He does these poems about it's street photography, black and white.
Mhm.
And he just won the George Rigo Award, which it's for like it's a particular type of award here in BC. And because his photos capture this quality of working people and people down and out and people just living their lives. They're not, all different kinds of people. Um, and you can't take photographs like that unless you are really absorbing. Like you got to be so fast with a photograph, too.
Mhm. Mhm.
Especially candids like he does. So it must be almost like making music or dancing or something, because you
Yeah.
got to be completely present. And maybe that's
Yeah.
also what we're talking about is required to
Yeah.
metabolize the world.
Yeah. So one thing that gets in the way of metabolizing is cell phones, probably, right?
Yeah, unless you're using
So
them to take photos, but yeah.
yeah, so if you're standing in that line and you're just staring at your cell phone, you're missing the whole panoply of emotional range and interactions that are going on around you.
God,
And
yeah.
like I I had this one moment where, and it stuck with me, like, how you can have a moment and it sticks with you like a photo in your brain
Yeah.
and it just is always there.
Yeah.
And I had one of these when I was like 17 and I was in Philly and I went into this pizza place and there was this older black guy kind of sitting in the corner and his friend comes in and they were so happy to see each other.
Awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and there was like they hadn't meant to meet. It was just, they walked
Oh,
in
awesome.
together and they're kind of doing their thing and talking and they're really loud and just they couldn't care who else was in this place. Right.
Yeah.
And then one of them says, "Come on, man, let's go get a bottle. Let's go hang out on the stoop."
Right.
Right. And I
Yeah.
thought, oh man, and I was of an age where I was like, that sounds pretty fun. But but it was like such an interesting moment. And the one guy says, no, 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 I got, this I got to do. And I got that I got to do. I can't do that today. And just kind of seeing how these two people connected
Yeah.
and socialized with each other
Yeah.
and had this moment together. And it's just stuck with me like this photo that you just carry around.
Yeah.
And I think, and this isn't like to get rid of cell phones, blah, blah, blah. But I think maybe to be a little, be as aware as we can.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's it. Like be present when you're somewhere, anywhere. And I'm just thinking too, there's this app that was developed up here. I don't know if it got very popular, but it was for people standing in bus lineups. They could, if somebody else had the app, they could connect and find each other via the app. And then, I don't know, maybe stand next to each other or text each other. I have no fucking idea. But I'm like, why do you need an app for that? Just look around. There's always people at bus stops who are looking around too. And if there's a moment to be had with them, you'll have it if you're not looking for your fucking app.
Like Grinder for being at a bus stop. Anybody at the bus stop? Anybody here?
It's so random, right? It's so much more random if you just are present.
Well, and it's that ordinary stuff that is so incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
So much where it's people are they're just doing their day.
They're just doing their day,
and they're feeling all of their emotions too, right? Like whatever the last conflict was, or maybe they woke up and they made love to their partner, and so they're still kind of riding on that high, or all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's fun to think about and fun to imagine what people are thinking, feeling, going through, and I think it's a great skill building thing to do as well.
Me too. Awesome. Okay, good. So that's our advice.
Yeah. Keep plugging away.
Be present.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
Develop a strong theory of mind.
Yes, eat your world.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Hope you have a great creative week.